Good to go.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is the November monthly meeting for the Town of Pompey Board. And this meeting is continuing to be held virtually because it's almost impossible for us to do otherwise. I would love to do a hybrid where we could be some people live and at the town hall and some on being able to participate virtually, but in order to do that, we lose audio for the people that can Zoom in or participate through Facebook. So until we can perfect that skill, we are going to stay virtual because more people are able to participate. So I want to just welcome everybody. We have a full agenda. I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance and then we'll do some introductions. So if we could all stand and turn this to the flag and ask all of us to just say the pledge together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Justice for all.
And just to note, we do continue to hold these meetings per the governor's executive order, which allows these meetings to be held remotely instead of live, as long as we offer the public an opportunity to view and listen to the proceedings, and that we also record and provide written documentation of the contents of the meeting. So that said, I just want to identify who is here tonight on the call. We have all 5 of our board members, myself, Renee Rotundo, the supervisor. Just want to wave Judy McElhannon, town councilor, Ann Christmas, town councilor, Sheila Larkin, town councilor, and down at the bottom of my screen is Carl Dennis, town councilor. We also have Nikki Reed, our town clerk, and Tom Purcell, our highway superintendent. We have our accountant, Tom Chartrand, who is super accountant tonight as he has 4 meetings to be involved in. Tim Protesky, who is our town attorney. And last but not least is Bob Rodriguez, our codes officer. And Veronica, who does a masterful job at keeping us technologically sound. Because if it was up to me, I don't know if we would be able to handle this. I just wanted, before we get into, we have a couple public hearings that we need to accomplish, but I just wanted to acknowledge a couple of things. First of all, I wanted to congratulate Ralph Cognetti for being reelected town justice in the town of Pompey yesterday. And I also wanted to note that we did have the passing this past month of several of Pompey's finest, and I would like to note them. Most of you, and better than I, knew Gail Moreland, who passed away on October 6th, 2020. She was very involved in our town community, and for those who worked with her and knew her, and she'll be sorely missed. Ann Armstrong passed away on October 11th. Of this year. She lived over, I think, was it Gulf Road?
Gulf Road was her residence, yes.
Yes, and she loved the highway department, Tom. So she passed away as well. And then just this past week, we lost Frank Winters, who at age 81, he was a pillar around here for a very, very long time. He's survived by his wife, Jan, and many of his family members, but I knew him through church. I know Ann knew him. I don't know if Sheila knew him, but many people, but in any event, those are 3 really amazing.
I was in Lions Club with him, a great guy, a great lion.
Yes.
Awesome. Amazing.
So I just want to acknowledge the passing of those three citizens, people in our community. They all contributed to our community. So, so having said that, the first thing on our agenda tonight, and if you're viewing virtually, you can find our agenda on the website. It's on the, if you go to the homepage, I think there's a link to it. But in any event, we need to have a public hearing to consider a local law to override the state's tax cap this year. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we open the public hearing on, I think it's local law number 2 for a tax cap override.
I'll
Renee,
second.
I'm sorry, Renee.
I'm sorry.
Do you usually waive the reading of the notice?
There's nothing usual about that because I don't do it that often. So if that's common practice to waive it, we can do that. Does anyone on the board want me to read it into the record? It's pretty mundane stuff, but I can.
No, you can just wait. You get a motion to waive.
I got a motion to waive reading of that.
Carl, I have a, who seconded? Sheila? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? That motion carried. So then Ann started to make a motion to open the public hearing. And Tim, you are free to jump in as you just did to make sure that I do this properly because this is my first go around with this. So Ann made a motion and I know I heard somebody second, but I don't.
I second it.
Okay, Judy seconded it. Any discussion? So all in favor of opening the public hearing?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So this public hearing is to weigh in on whether or not the town should override the state's tax cap, which this year is 5.6%. So Veronica, I guess I would ask you if you see, as you're going to be our monitor for comments, if there's any comments regarding the override.
Yep, I would just ask if people want to comment via Zoom that they raise their hand or submit a Q&A or a chat. And we can have them participate. And then comments on Facebook, we will try to get to those as well. So I have one, Phil Dillmore has raised his hand. So I will allow him to talk. Okay, Renee?
That's okay.
Okay, go ahead, Phil.
Is this a one-year thing, just a stopgap for the COVID, or a permanent?
The tax cap is set every year and it varies depending on, is it the consumer price index? There's something that relates to consumer price index. So it is an issue every year whether or not we have to override it in order to pass our budget is the question. So some years it's done as a matter of course to make sure that if we need to, we have it in place. This year we need it because we are going to have to go above the tax cap, the 1.56% in order to pass the 2021 budget.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Renee, it does expire with this. We'd have to do another one next year if we needed to exceed.
Okay. But it's not limited to 1 year. This one is, but I mean, we'd have to do it.
Yes.
Is that what you mean? Yeah.
Yes.
It's local law for the 2021 budget year.
Okay. Anything else, Veronica?
I don't see anyone on Zoom. And I don't see any comments on Facebook at the moment.
Okay. I'm not sure how long we, I want to give it a little bit of time for people to weigh in.
Because the comments are, lots of times we get comments after the public hearing is closed. So what is the rule on that? The comments should be made during the public hearing, correct?
Yes.
Yes, yes,
So this is the opportunity to do it.
yes. So we can wait for a minute or so and just see if anybody else wants to weigh in on this particular.
Okay, I have one question from Helen Bailey. Hang on a second. First, let me do Samantha Shappis. Why is the 2021 budget going to be so large, is the question.
My answer to that would be that it's not that it's going to be so large, it's that our tax rate is so small that any increase in the budget, and we do have health insurance that's gone up 15% this year, is significant enough that it pushes us past the tax limit. And it's also because we are not going to continue to short the highway budget on the funds they need to maintain and replace the equipment that they need to do the job out here in, I think, the largest town in the county, area-wise, and with highest elevation and the worst roads in the winter. So that would be my short answer. We can address that a little bit more when we get into the actual public hearing on the budget. But I would ask any other board member that wishes to weigh in on that. Feel free. I don't need to be the only person speaking, but you don't have to either.
There's a follow-up to that too, is what are we planning to do with this money?
Well, we're planning to try and run the town government. What you have to understand is the biggest part of our budget, and not to put this on the highway, but the highway department. They pave our roads, they maintain our ditches and keep things clear, and they plow in the winter and they pave in the summer, and it's an enormous amount of money. And that's where the most money is. If you look at our budget, if you look at the preliminary budget, we've actually cut the general fund, which funds everything but the town highway budget, significantly this year, to below, Tom, I don't know if it's below, I know it's below last year, I think, or, and I forget because I'm looking at the numbers, but we've cut, we have tightened the belt as tight as we can get it, and we're still here in a position where we have to go over the tax cap.
In the preliminary budget, we had a 14 cents per thousand decrease in the general fund and a 33 cent per thousand increase in the highway fund. Because we're anticipating purchasing a truck.
A snowplow.
And this isn't new. Haven't we in the past overrode had to do this override, Tom, the past quite a few years? This isn't new for this year.
Renee, maybe it'll be helpful if we explain what happens if we don't override the budget, or override the property tax cap and the budget does go over it. You will be penalized by the state of New York for the amount of money that you go over the property tax cap. In future years, you will have to set aside money, the same amount of money that you would have used to reduce the property tax cap this year, which obviously we don't have, and it will only exacerbate the problem in the future when the comptroller's office penalizes you and makes you set aside funds in the future that we really didn't have. So that's the reason why we have to consider overriding the property tax cap.
Our total amount that we're anticipating going over is around 35,000 on on a taxes to be collected of 1,700,000. So it's a very small amount in actual dollars that we're exceeding the tax cap by.
And that was another question by someone in our community. Jailer Joe's had asked, how much overage are you predicting? And Helen Bailey, how much are you going to raise it? So Tom, I think you just answered those questions. Someone wants to know, is there a public vote on this?
The board votes on it.
Typically the board.
New York State does not allow referendum. There's nothing in the Constitution that would allow that, only on bond issues.
There's a couple more questions on Zoom. Greg Hurley wants to know, can you cite a specific example of where increasing taxes will improve services that haven't been satisfactorily performed in the past?
Tell you without a doubt that if we don't replace the 2004 snowplow,
2006
snowplow, which is well beyond its useful life, there is no guarantee that the highway garage will continue to have the equipment it needs to do the job out here. We're not talking about a place that doesn't get snow. Town gets more snow than almost any other place in Onondaga County. And for years, the highway department has been, their budget has been reduced, and they have not been able to cover the expenses that they've needed to cover for repair and replacement of equipment, because the town would take the money that would otherwise result in a tax increase and put it and offset the taxes. And what that does is, if you keep doing that year after year after year, is your infrastructure suffers terribly. And we are a new administration, and we have formed a building committee. Carl Dennis is the chair of it. We took a look at the town's infrastructure. We made a list of the priorities. This town's infrastructure is suffering dearly. And if we don't fix it, if we don't put some money toward it, if we don't start to work on it, you can bankrupt this town. And because we will end up fixing things on an emergency basis only. We have 3 furnaces in this building, which I'm sitting in right now, the town hall, that have been here since the get-go. All 3 of them could go at any minute, and we have no money to cover that. We have no reserves. This town has never budgeted for the future. So the money that we are talking about is going to ensure that this town's infrastructure is secure. So I hope that answers your question, Greg. I can't say it will to your satisfaction, but that's how that's what we've been doing with this budget this year. And it has been a year-long process with all board members and town officials involved, looking at the infrastructure in this town. And it has been sorely neglected, sorely neglected.
Seth is asking, in a pandemic when everyone is hurting and strapped for cash, you want to raise taxes? Question mark.
No, I don't want to raise taxes. and I want people to understand what we're talking about. The increase is 19 cents on $1,000, 19 cents. And the reason that's a large percentage is because the tax rate in this town has been so unrealistically low for so long, at $2.47, that we raised taxes by 19 cents per thousand. That's a significant percentage, but it's 19 cents. It's $20 on $100,000 assessed value. And I don't want to do it, Seth, and nor do my board members. But we also cannot continue to ignore what needs repair and replacement around here. If you know, Tom Purcell, if you want to jump in, I'm not asking you to. I'm just saying, you know, we've got some severe issues here because there's been neglect. There's been serious neglect.
Yeah, there's a lot of big equipment needs in the near future, you know, plus the truck I'm asking for this year. Obviously, we need to plow equipment to make our roads safe for the winter. And it's like you said about the infrastructure, you know, this town highway garage, the original part of the garage was built in 1973, and the roof is in dire need of replacement. So that's 47 years old, that roof is. And there's, like you said, the building committee, where there's a lot of things that we really need to do to upkeep. And there's some key pieces of equipment that in the future, like we need, like we used to do the grade aisles, a very important piece of machinery in winter storms or any kind of storm. It goes out and it's got to go all over town. We should change or exchange it and trade it in or sell it outright every 10 years. And that machine's out. It's already 16 years old. And the payloader we do every 10 years, and that's up next year. And the payloader goes every single day we plow snow. That's a must. I said a lot of the bigger towns either have 2 or 3 payloaders, you know. So we're trying to do the best we can with what we have. I'm not asking for 2 payloaders. We trade it in every 10 years, and so far we make out very well. I mean, we have no other alternative to load trucks other than the grade aisle if the loader shall go down in the wintertime. So I'm not asking for nothing we don't desperately need to keep the town running in a safe and positive manner in the future. So we're trying to plan ahead a little bit too with the roof and the things we need.
I have a few more here on Zoom, Renee. I'm just going to keep going, okay?
Yep, that's fine.
The question is, so COVID's main impact on the town expenses has been the increase in health insurance.
Is that is there a name attached with that?
Richard, yes, Richard Moses.
Yeah, I can't say his name either, but I know the name. So that's not exactly accurate. The health insurance has gone up. And I've talked, Tom Chartrand and I have talked about this, our accountant, this year. It went up 15%. And that's partly because, and Tom, if I get this wrong, I'd ask you to jump in. It's partly because we are in a self-insured plan. It's a cooperative plan, but it's not really cooperative as far as I can tell, in the sense that if you incur expenses, medical expenses, it comes out of your town's part of the equation of the group. And we've had significant medical expenses that have put us in deficit when we took office. When we took office, we were $90,000 in the hole with the insurance. We got that down to 5,000 at the end of, I want to say, July or August. But then we had another month of significant expenses, and it's back up to 22,000. And when we stay in deficit, we're considered a risk, and that increased. Even the towns that were in deficit had a 10% hike in insurance. And because we were in deficit and are trying to get out of deficit and have done, I think, a remarkable job getting to where we are, our rate went up to 15%. So it's not really related to COVID. It just coincides with COVID, I guess is how I would say that. Or how I would answer that.
Okay. Kevin Malone, the highway department does a great job. What are the chances of opening businesses to make money for you?
Do you understand that question, Tom? I'm not sure I get it. Tom Purcell, you know what he means?
No, I don't understand the question.
Can he explain it? Opening businesses?
I assume he's talking about encouraging businesses in the town of Pompey so they can share some of the tax burden.
I think that has always been a struggle to get business, to attract business out here because we have so little infrastructure in the way of sewer and water.
Water prevents the expansion of the town, lack of water to get it up here. It's never coming over the hills.
Yeah, and the county has made it a priority to go north with the sewer and water lines, but not to come south up into the hills. And to some extent, that's probably kept Pompey more of a agricultural farming community than it would be if we did have it.
Dan Palladino is asking, didn't this have to be done before during prior administrations? Also, has that request for snowplow been made before but denied in the past?
Yes to both of those. Yes, there's been a tax cap override, and Tom, you can probably talk to this better than I can because you can't hear you, Tom.
Oh, all right, let me switch back. I was doing data search. Okay, I took a quick look. Our last time that we had a tax cap override was in 2019. We exceeded the tax cap by over 335,000.
Ooh. So, and yes to the second question, and I think Tom Purcell could probably answer that better than I could, because again, it was on his watch.
Yeah, getting plow equipment's been tough the last few years. Prior to that, we were trying to build a truck by saving like 100,000 every year. So it'd take 3 years to build a truck. And when you got pretty close to 30 pieces of equipment with engines in them, you can't take 3 years to build one piece of machinery and to keep up with all the rest. I mean, I got a plow truck that's a spare now, but it's 32 years old. And I got another truck that we used the other day, and it's 19 years old. So a lot of my trucks are getting aged. That's not to mention the stuff that we don't plow snow with. I mean, we got a roller that's 35 years old, another roller that's 37 years old. So a lot of our equipment's getting outdated. So this is a must.
It's got to start somewhere, because if you just keep letting your equipment deteriorate, you're literally going to end up with nothing that works and no money to pay for it.
The repairs are worse than buying a new one and bonding for it if you have to, or just getting a new one, and the repairs will eat you alive.
And Tom has told me that useful life on a lot of the equipment, you can extend it out to a lot longer, but when you go to buy something to replace it, the resale value of the piece of equipment is much less. So it's a balancing between how long you have a useful life of something to get the best price when you need to replace it with when you resell the piece that the equipment that you're replacing. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And like Carol mentioned about equipment repairs, it's more than doubled in what money we put aside for equipment repairs over the last few years. And the unfortunate thing, when we have a snowplow down, we have a spare, but there's been times where we've had 3 trucks down, and we're trying to plow snow and we're trying to repair trucks, we're trying to get parts. So it becomes very difficult in the wintertime because we have a small crew. So it's all hands on deck when something goes down. So, and then that
all
adds up to be a lot
across the board have doubled.
Yeah.
Everything. What'd you say, Sheila?
All costs across the board have doubled.
Right.
You know, anybody can take a look at the budget. The budget is posted. You know, we've worked very hard on this budget. And you'll see if you go back in years prior and look back in all of them, costs have risen to the point where there is no choice right now. So.
Teresa Eppolito says Highway Department does a great job. We need to continue that service. Nancy Furdock, I know some small towns in New York State are partnering with neighboring townships for shared services, particularly highway departments. Has this ever been considered or investigated?
We do it, right, Tom?
We do shared services all the time. We pave with several towns in the winter to save, or summer rather, to save on trucks. When we do paving projects throughout, we do Fabius, Otisco, Tully. We all get together and provide manpower and trucks when we do paving projects, so we all work together. So we do as much as we can. There's just some equipment we can't share. Like I mentioned the grade out earlier, everybody has storms, so everybody needs that piece of equipment. So some of them are really, you know, key pieces of equipment. So we've done shared services for years. We do a little bit of plowing. Yes. We do some plowing for Malins, and in turn they plow a couple roads for us. We do some plowing for Fabius. We plow county roads. So we've been doing shared services for years.
Okay, Dan Palladino, I think it's a follow-up comment to the exceeding, the amount that we've exceeded in the past. He says, wow, a lot more than 35.
I just want to say, and Tom, I could be recalling this incorrectly, Chartran I'm talking to, but I remember when I started this year in office, you told me that we were going to probably be having to look at $115,000 shortage when we got to this point. And the fact that we've got it down to 35,000 with the year we've had, the lack of revenue that we've had coming in, our courts are not producing anything. We get 20% cuts from our state aid for Ames and CHIPS money. The only place we might make some extra money is going to be the mortgage tax, but who even knows there because we haven't seen it yet. We are exhausting all sources of alternative revenue. I've gone to Assemblyman Sturpey, I've gone to Senator May, I've gone to Dave Knapp. Promised funds of different amounts to help us out. We are doing everything we can to right this ship, which has been sinking for years. It has been sinking. I can't emphasize that enough. And you cannot right a ship and get it back on course without expending the necessary amounts of money to repair the leaks, repair the damage, repair the weather, the salt on the roads, everything. So I cannot tell you what we've done so much this year to that's related to budget. We bid out our insurance, which hadn't been done in years, and we saved $40,000 by doing that. And it's because it was competitive. The same insurance company that we had last year came in $20,000 lower when we competitively bid it this year, and they still didn't get the bid because there was somebody else that was $20,000 less than they were. We have stopped using enhanced services like it's pocket change, and we use it when we need it. When there is a sheriff's detail needs to go to a certain area, we will send it there. We've saved, last year they spent $45,000 on enhanced services. This year we are at about 20,000, Tom, or so. I forget exactly where. Last year we, this town had part-time people that were salaried, we changed that to hourly and made people accountable for their time by handing in timesheets. And we have saved, we had a codes officer last year that was making $41,000 for 19 hours of work. This year, we haven't even spent half of that amount, or just about half of, not even half of that amount. And we're getting 15 hours of quality work out of Bob Rodriguez. So the amount of money we have not spent this year and where we could have been if we hadn't changed insurance, if we hadn't changed the way we use shared services, if we hadn't switched our employees to hourly and made them accountable, we would be so much worse off right now. And it so happens that it's happening on, I'll take my watch, it is, but, and I'll take responsibility for it, but it needs to be done. It needs to be done.
Greg Hurley, equipment was purchased on a scheduled basis in the past. This prevented a raise in taxes. Why not use this method now?
There was a schedule, but it wasn't adhered to because money kept being taken from it. And Tom, I'll defer to you on that.
That is correct. The old board, I did have a equipment plan in place. They asked me years ago to come up with a plan for the future, and that went way by the wayside. We're way behind on our what I predicted years ago and what I proposed. So.
Kevin Malone wants to rephrase his earlier comment. I'm a cook working with bartenders in this sector of the community, and this sector of the community has been crippled. We've done everything and anything to be compliant. When are the reins dropped on us in restaurant and bar?
Veronica, what was the last part? When were the reins?
Yeah, when are the reins dropped on us in restaurant and bar?
I don't quite understand that. What's he saying?
I don't either, Carl.
I don't get that.
I believe
I'm looking at it here on the screen. It appears that he'd like to know when they're going to be lifting some of the regulations for restaurants and bars is what it appears to be asking.
Yeah.
Not our job, not our territory.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know, Kevin, because that's beyond our, it's beyond what we do.
Oh.
We don't have any control, we just follow.
Okay, some more comments on Facebook. Helen Bailey, thank you for explaining the process that you have done. Greg Hurley, if I'm not mistaken, the tax cap overrides in the past were to help with equipment purchases as well as other costs. There is no doubt upgrades are needed, but equipment costs are not what is driving the budget up so rapidly. Increasing employee insurance costs need to be addressed in any municipality or business. Please, can you remind us the cost to the taxpayer of a family health insurance per employee?
Tom Chartrand, do you have that? I had it somewhere, but I don't have it handy.
No, I do have it. Currently, the monthly for a family is $2,577.
Tom Chartrand.
Did I come through? $2,577 a month for family.
And just so you realize, not everybody in the town takes town health insurance. There are many, many employees that do not. So it's not like you can look at all of us here and think that we take insurance. Almost nobody on this page does. The highway crew does. And some of them, depending on when they were hired, have to pay in. So it's not completely a freebie to them. And because of the fact that the insurance went up 15% this year, which I will state unequivocally, I find absurd. It's beyond what anybody else's insurances seem to be going up by, health insurance. I've already reached out to someone today. Oh, actually, somebody reached out to me. We're going to get a quote from somebody, another source for health insurance. And we're going to take a serious deep dive into the health benefits. But I want to explain to the people that are watching and listening and commenting that the deep dive that this administration is taking has never been done before. It has not been done. The budget has not been looked at with nearly the fine-tooth comb that we've been looking at it. And that's why this is coming out. Because there's been a lot of missteps in the past. There's been a lot of wasted money spent on things that didn't need to be, and it could have been put towards reserves where we would have money available when we needed it. And now we have nothing. We have a contingency of what, $24,000? That's our rainy day fund. And an equipment reserve that couldn't purchase probably a drill. So it's fiscally irresponsible and negligent to have let this budget get to where it's at and to let the infrastructure in this town get to where it's at. And it has to get on a corrective path. It has to. And the only way to start doing it is to start fixing the things that are broken. And we've applied for a JCAP, a Justice Cap grant, a Justice Court grant, which we're hoping will help offset the cost of the furnaces in the town hall here, perhaps not. But that's a $30,000 grant. We are doing everything we can, but we inherited this. This didn't happen this year. We inherited this. We're doing the best we can to fix it.
Did we already cover what is the employee contribution for health insurance?
10%. Okay. But that's for new hires as of 2017, sometime in 2017, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about this question, if we've covered this or not. Sorry, more comments keep coming in and I keep losing my place. CAP override forecast, question mark. I don't know if we
what does that mean?
I don't know if we've covered that or not.
Okay. If I knew what it meant, we could.
We're currently at about 35,000 over the tax cap. Maybe that's what they were asking.
Oh.
What's Tim Chrysler, what's the forecast for next year?
Yeah, that's right.
I don't mean to smile or smirk. It's just, if I knew, I would tell you, but COVID has wreaked havoc on revenue. It's not our spending. If you watch our board meetings every month, I ask Tom where we are with spending for the year, and we are well below where our spending levels are. I think last month we were at 55%. We're in October at 55% of our spending. We are not spending. It's the revenue that's the problem. And that's why we're looking at other sources of revenue, but we couldn't do it in this COVID year. It was almost an impossible task. So looking to the future, I wish I could tell you that I know we're going to get aid, which we are seeking, but I don't know that. I have no guarantees, but all I can tell you is that we're seeking it. I've asked Rachel May's office for funding. She has talked about funding in the range of $400,000, but we have not applied for it yet. We have talked to Al Sturpey's office about funding. They have offered $100,000 for mostly highway related types of expenditures. So we are looking for alternative means, but the highway department needs a snowplow, and we could put it off again, and we could, but it's got to start somewhere where we start improving the town and taking care of the infrastructure. It's got to start. It has been ignored. It has been ignored.
Greg Hurley, what I can see, nobody has even looked into changing the health plan for the sake of the taxpayers. Do the employees pay any premium like so many of us residents do?
That was just answered, yes. Some of the employees that have been hired since 2017 paid in 10%. And I can tell you that for certain because I see their payroll every 2 weeks.
Okay. Sherry Lang, her comment is, well, that didn't take long. Sounds so easy for you to just raise taxes. There must be some other fund you can take this from. It's such a small amount.
I have no response to that.
We did start out at 133 above the tax, 133,000 above the tax cap with the tentative budget, which was what we would really normally be operating at.
Greg Hurley, to say money has been taken, I think what you really mean is that it was returned to the taxpayers in the form of lower taxes. The highway department has always performed well at low cost to the taxpayer. They should be commended for that. The board's job is to balance the two. And then he also asks, again, I asked, could you show examples of wasted money?
Renee,
we show examples of wasted money.
Renee,
this is getting.
Yeah, can I make a suggestion?
Yes, please do.
Because this is such an informal way to do a public hearing, we can go back and forth all night. But the purpose of a public hearing is to get information from the public. You really don't need to respond. It's really to gather information to make it so that you can make a decision on what you want to do. So if there's going to be a back and forth, that might happen and it might take place all night. Public hearings are not really the forum to present questions and have the board answer and then go back and forth. It's really just to take in the information and then use that information to make a determination.
Okay, thank you. So that said, I think, Veronica, from here on out, any thing on that you're seeing is just going to be recorded into the record and we'll move on. That we don't need to respond.
Okay.
And we can take into consideration what people's concerns are. I think, given what Tim just said, we've probably been more than generous with this dialogue. And I'm all for discourse, so that's probably why it's going on like this.
Okay.
Are we good, Veronica?
Yep. So you can read any remaining comments there are on Facebook. There's a few more.
Do they have to be read into the record, Tim?
Well, they should be. Yes, they should be. They should be recognized as from who, and can we actually print them, or is that something?
I'm pretty sure you can print them.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Well, why don't we print those out and make them part of the record? We haven't even gotten to the budget hearing yet.
I know.
So this is really on the override, and whether or not we think that makes sense, or you think that makes sense for the town.
Does anyone want to make a motion to close the public hearing on the tax override?
I make a motion
to close the public hearing on the tax override.
So Carla, Judy seconded it. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. So I think the next step here is for us to vote on tax cap override, correct? Is that my next step?
Yep, it would be local law 2022. And I think you said her, Nikki?
I think it is number 2.
Number 2?
Yep. 20.
And this will require a 60% vote from the board.
Which means 3 of us.
Correct.
Okay. So does anybody want to make a motion to adopt a tax cap override for the 2021 budget?
So moved.
Second.
I would second it. Just to save everybody else. Does anyone have any further discussion on the matter? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And I would just note, Tim, I don't know if I should have done a roll call on that, but it was unanimous.
From a unanimous vote.
Yeah, my observation. So, board members, do you all have the preliminary budget?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. So I think next step here is to open the public hearing, or have a motion to open the public hearing for consideration of the 2021 budget.
Well, motion to open the public
hearing. Yes. Does anyone want me to read the budget, or can we waive the reading of the budget?
Waive it.
I waive it.
So do I need to do a motion to that effect?
Yes, that's Sheila and Judy made the motion. They made the motions.
Okay. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Bless you,
Motion
Nikki.
carried. So now I guess, would anyone like to make the motion to open the public hearing on the 2021 budget?
That motion that we open the public hearing on the 2021 town and highway budget.
I'll second it.
Okay, Anne made the motion. Sheila seconded. Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. So the public hearing is open. We will run it very similar, but with Tim's proviso that this is meant to be input from the public, not necessarily an exchange of questions and answers.
Renee, would you like me to address the changes that I would recommend at this point?
I was going to, absolutely. I would prefer, there are a couple of things that have happened since we passed the preliminary budget to this point, and that just came up because of, and so Tom knows about them, and I would defer to him.
Yeah, I think I sent out an email earlier today with some of the notes on that. Or I think I left a sheet up at the town hall for you to pick up.
Yes, you did.
So, as Renee has mentioned, I had originally budgeted for a 10% estimated increase in health insurance. It came in at 15%, which means that we need to add another $3,700 to the general fund and $9,500 to the highway fund to cover the estimated with our current mix of employees. So I'm going to make a recommendation on those. Now, on the good news, about 4:30 today, they released the retirement billing for February. and we will be able to reduce the highway budget by $7,500. So we're actually netting an increase in the highway fund of $2,000 and in the general fund of $3,700. So it actually doesn't change the rounded to the penny tax rates. And one other piece of that we did receive was we received the KVAC ambulance service budget, and it was $453.56 higher than what I had estimated. So that also is included in the tax cap changes. And all those numbers relate to the numbers that we had talked about. And I will do a screen, I'll try to do a screen share so that you can see the budget. So what I have here is the preliminary budget, which you can still hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, good. Okay. Because it didn't work earlier. So we were at the preliminary budget here. We are looking at a tax rate of $2.66, right above my box here. And so with the changes, I'll move down to the adopted, which is what we would go to. There's some small changes there. We still remain at the $2.66 per thousand, which is rounded to a 19 cents per thousand increase. So a $100,000 house would see roughly a $19 to $20 increase in their tax bill for 2021 over their 2020 bill. We also will be seeing in the different fire districts, you'll be seeing slight decreases. Pompey Fire 1 cent, Manlius 4 cents, Delphi Falls Fire and Delphi Falls Ambulance kind of offset each other. So there won't be a change there in that particular budget item. And I think that's all I had to address on that.
Veronica, do you want to monitor again for this part of the meeting?
We have one comment coming in by chat on Zoom. Kevin Malone says, I'm sorry you have no choice as to what the governor does. I disagree. You are my and many others' first line of defense. The more we work, the more you make. Push it forward till it gets to the governor and make him understand. I don't see any additional comments on Facebook at the moment.
How about on Zoom?
No, that was the only one.
So I'm Chartrand or Tim, because you do this on for other towns. How long do you wait typically to give people the opportunity? I don't want to short people unnecessarily prolong.
I don't think anybody is interested in. I think a lot of the discussion already took place.
I was thinking that myself. So does anyone want to make a motion to close this public hearing?
I make a motion
to close the public hearing.
Okay, Judy made the motion and Carl seconded it.
Sorry,
any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. This public hearing is closed.
Okay, now you need to do your vote on this one.
Yes, and I would defer to Tom because I know there's a process you employ. So if you have the time, you can do it. We'll take your way. Otherwise, we can. I know I talked to Tim and he said we could do a comprehensive.
So we can either do it, the general highway and all of the other funds, or we can go through it as we have in the past, approving the general highway and then the district. So.
Where do you?
Most of my towns pass everything all as one item.
Well, then let's do that.
Since we have that all published.
Yeah,
Right.
and this has been published.
The motion would be
the fact that we've changed some. There's some. Are you going to go there? Is that what you're going to explain? Sorry.
So normally the motion would be to adopt the preliminary budget with the changes discussed during the public hearing. Those being the changes to the retirement billing amounts and the health insurance amounts and the ambulance amounts. So we would need a motion to adopt the budget with those changes.
I make a motion that we adopt the budget for the retirement and the healthcare and the ambulance.
With those changes?
With those changes.
With the changes that Tom we have decided on.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Carl. Is there any further discussion? Not that we haven't discussed this budget for the last 6 months.
I think we worked really hard on it. I mean, we did the best we could.
We did.
A lot of time went into it.
Yes, and oh gosh, I'm sorry because hold on.
You did an awesome job, Renee.
The lights keep going off on me in this room because I'm sitting too still. Thank you, Judy. This is not. The only thing I have to say is that this process has been so difficult. And I am beyond grateful to the other members of this board for working so hard to, we have cut in ways that I didn't even think we would be able to, and we still are at this point. And I cannot imagine, as I've said to Tom Chartrand, what it would have been like if we did not have some of the reductions that we made this year when we came into office. And Tom Purcell has made sacrifices in his budget, and Nikki Reed has made sacrifices in her budget. So everybody has tightened their belt, and I urge people to take a real hard look at the budget, at the tax rate. 7%, is that where we're at? 7.7?
Yeah, it's rounded up to about 8 right now with the few changes.
That's a lot. But you have to consider we have a $2.47 tax rate. So 7% of that is 19 cents. We're not talking about most of the tax rates in this county are double or triple ours. And you might think that's a great thing, but it has really done a disservice to this town, not a service. And I stand by that, and people can agree or can disagree with me, but I stand by that. And I just want to really commend this group. It has been a difficult process, and we can only hope that we will be in a better position when we come back to do this again next year. Having said that, does anybody else want to weigh in? I don't want to.
I would just like, go ahead, Tom.
I would like to thank the board. Like Carl said, we spent many, many hours going over this, and we really worked hard at doing what we did. So I appreciate the board very much. Thank you.
And I would just like to say that it is not just Renee that is raising the taxes. It's us as a board that are trying to cut the taxes for all of us that are paying taxes. We all want to cut budgets, but like Renee says, we have to keep up the repairs, and Tom needs help desperately, and we as a board has to help Tom and everybody else in the town. So thank you. Good job, Renee.
Thanks, Judy. Okay, so not to prolong this because we still have an agenda after this. All those in favor, is that where we're at? All those in favor of passage of the 2021 preliminary budget, as amended. Do a roll call, Tim. Okay, I'm going to do a roll call. So Judy?
Yes.
Anne?
Yes.
Sheila?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
And Renee, yes. So it was 5 yeses, no no's. The budget has passed. So, Tom, you're still in the hot seat though, because you're next on the agenda.
Yeah, and I'm running very late for my next meeting, so
you want us to come back to you?
For you. How's that? No, I'll go through it real quickly here.
Okay.
So on the supervisor's monthly reports, our current spending for the general fund without the SOTS is at 62%. Our revenue is at 93%. Our highway spending is at 71%. Our highway revenue is at 97%. On the interest, the NICLAS, I have some really good news. We were at 0.045 last month. We're now at 0.095. So we're going in the right direction again. We did receive a nice big chunk of money in the highway fund, which is reimbursement for the work we did on the roads through the CHIPS program. So that was good news for us. And I don't think I gave you a transfer sheet this month. And I think
no, you did.
I really had to report. Oh, I did?
Yes, you did.
Yes,
it's hard to keep track of everything here. Oh, there it is.
We need to move money to cover.
Yep, for the codes.
Okay.
We had the books and we had the upgrade to the software. And so we need to move some funds in to cover those.
I would make a motion to transfer funds as per the budget transfer sheet that Tom prepared.
I'll make a motion to transfer funds per Tom's transfer sheet.
Okay. Carl seconded it, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And I think there was several bank reconciliations up at the hall for everybody.
I'll make a motion that we approve the bank reconciliation and monthly reports of the supervisor, tax collector, town clerk.
I second it.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, payment of the bills. Were any questions on the vouchers or are we pretty well set?
Set.
I already asked you mine.
Make a motion for payment of the bills.
I second. Who said second?
I did too.
Renee.
Okay, I did too, but it doesn't matter. Nikki, all three of us. It's hard to do virtually. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Okay, and on the end of the year business, we normally pay the December payroll earlier at one of the, to coincide with one of the highway payroll dates. So the highway payroll dates in December fall on December 10th, December 24th. So we can think about this and make that decision at the December board meeting, and unless somebody's already ready to go on it.
It doesn't matter to me. I think, let me talk to Bob about it, because I think we were talking about it might impact him and more than anything else. So
yeah, because he's on hourly.
Yeah, so if we could just know to decide it in December at December's meeting. Just
yes, please.
Back up. Yeah.
Okay. Are you all set with me for right now? I will leave this running and run over to my other meeting.
Yeah. I have one quick thing though. I think Nikki has a issue. So maybe we can jump right into that because you're next on the agenda. So while Tom's right here, and then see what he has to say about where we can take money.
Yeah, I did talk to Tom earlier. So after working with Dan Bender, we exhausted the efforts to try to fix Debbie's computer in my office. It's completely broken. We've tried to repair it. It cannot be fixed. So I did call because I know a new computer was in the 2021 budget, but I know also for the last week, Debbie and I are sharing my computer, and I know we can't do that for the next 2 months. So I talked to Dan Bender about a couple of ideas. His first idea that he came up with that it seems to be—
I have a business meeting, I'll call you later.
The best option is to purchase a new computer. The most comparable to the one that we already have would run us $700 to $800. It's got everything that we need on it. The second thing he said we could do if we want to pinch some pennies would be to refurbish Debbie's current computer, which would cost about $300, but he's not sure how long it would last. So I wanted to talk to Tom and I wanted to talk to the board and see how we should handle the new.
There's no funding left in Nikki's tax collector equipment, but there is still funds left in the buildings account for equipment. And as you know, we've been being very careful with that. So I would think the $700 or $800 could easily come out of that. Because a couple of the items we were going to do, we've already applied for the JCAP grant for, which means we can't complete them this year. So, but since she isn't spending her budget, she's spending the town-wide budget, it would be a board motion to authorize her to spend those funds.
So moved.
Nikki, how old is the computer? Just out of curiosity.
Not even 2 years old.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah.
What kind is it?
Oh.
It's a Lenovo.
It's a Lenovo.
Yeah, it's the same. We have two of them that are exactly the same computers, and I have one at my office, and mine runs great. So.
They're not.
Is there a warranty, or does it?
We've extended the warranty on them, and that's why Dan said if we went with, it's very similar to what we have, but it's a bump up. He said we would have 5 to 7 years, the lifespan of a newer computer, versus trying to put a Band-Aid on something that's just, we've had nothing but
the new one was how much?
He said it would be roughly between $700 and $800 for the new one.
Yeah.
What do you think, Sheila?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Carl's got a motion. Anybody, a second?
Sure,
I'll second it.
Sheila seconded it. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Are we moving to take money out of equipment, right? To use
it would come out of the A1620.2 account.
Yeah. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
You all set with me for a few minutes?
Yes.
I'll come back as soon as I can.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Nikki, you've got your...
Yes, if everyone's had the chance to review my October 5th, 2020 meeting minutes draft, I'm looking for approval of those minutes.
I make a motion that we accept Nikki's reports, town clerk report.
Second.
Carl seconded it. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
That's all I have, Renee.
Pardon me?
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Nikki. Tom, highway report?
Yeah, I wanted to report on the cupola repairs. Carl Dennis reached out to some contractors, and Carl got the quotes, and the quote was awarded to Latosha Builders. So I had the chance to get up on the roof with them, and they explained to me what they were doing and what they found. The old cedar was rotten, and water was getting behind it, but there was no damage to the plywood underneath. But they did an ice and water wrap, and they did some very nice flashing, and they, instead of putting cedar back on, they use Apex, which is a composite lumber. It's like plastic. It never needs to be painted. So hopefully it will never rot again. So occasionally we would just get up there and check the caulking, and it looks very nice. So thanks, Carl.
Yeah, it does.
Thanks.
Yeah. Now that that's fixed, the leak that caused the damage to the roof in the foyer, we can now fix the ceiling in the foyer, which has had all kinds of peeling and paint, and so we'll get that fixed next.
That'll come out of 2021 budget.
Yeah, probably. I think we also included that. Did we include that in the JCAP?
Yeah.
We did. We did that. I have an answer. Just and I wanted to share this with actually Tom Purcell. I forgot about it. I don't know if you recall it when Dave Knapp was on our virtual meeting a few months ago. We talked about that strip of that little triangular piece of property in Pompey Hill that borders both Sweet and Route 91, and Dave was going to look into it. And I talked to him on Monday, and he said the answer is that the county has a right of way, which you probably already know this. The county has a right of way from Sweet Road that extends over the course over onto that property. The state has, because it's a state road, Route 91, has a right of way that it also extends onto that property. But neither one of them own it. And because of that, it defers back to the town. So it's owned by the town is the answer. That's what I'm being told. So the question now becomes if we want to do anything with that property, with that little strip, and we can talk about that later, but that was the answer. And I know somebody in Pompey Hill is probably happy to have that answer because they've been asking. So that's the answer to that. I also just want to, I cannot say enough about the work of the highway department to get us ready for election day yesterday since the town hall was a polling place. It was a little sketchy last week. We weren't really sure what was going on. We didn't have a lot of guidance about COVID, but the Board of Elections stepped up and worked with us, and we worked with them, I should say, and came up with a plan to make sure that traffic flowed through the town hall. And Tom and his crew went out and figured out a way to make sure that the exit out of the meeting room here had pavers that would make it level ground for people to exit by, so we could have a one-way flow of traffic and minimize any risk of spreading anything at this time of year. So it worked great. And I'm so grateful because it was a definite concern as to how this was all going to work this year, but it worked great.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So I think we're down to codes, and I think the only thing, Bob, you had an electrical inspector.
Yes, I'd like to
candidate.
Upstate Electric Inspection Agency. I'd like to add them to our list of third-party electrical inspectors.
And I sent their packet to everybody, the information you gave us, so everybody on the board has it. The only thing I would add is that we did get certifications. Is that what they're called for?
Yes.
These inspectors that are good through 2022 and 2023. So they're
yes.
into the future.
Yep.
So,
I'll make a motion. We add Upstate Electrical Inspection Agency as a third party on our list.
Judy seconds it. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Bob, any progress on the quotes for the windows?
Actually, Nikki can answer that one better than I can. Tom stopped in on Monday to measure up the windows.
Oh, good.
He came in during the day. I couldn't make it there.
Okay. So we should get it. We'll have his quote. I would really like to get, if we can, get that work done before the snow flies, or because that's been an issue with the
I will
in the town.
contact him tomorrow.
Okay. Renee, just an FYI, when he came in, he said that he was told that there were only 3 windows that needed to be replaced. And I have 2 windows in my office, and Larry has 2 windows in his office, and they're all the same size.
I think it's only one in Larry's, or at least that's what I'm being told. And I don't know why it's only one. I don't know if Tom Purcell knows anything about that.
I was with him when he measured Larry's. So the two in my office were completely fine. The one in Larry's office on the left measured the same. The one on the right, you can see where the window was cut and built in. So he was able to measure it, but I don't know if that's possibly why Larry's, I don't know, Ann, if you would know more, but Larry's window isn't symmetrical. You can tell where it's been adjusted and cut in and rebuilt. So he was kind of confused himself. It's like, oh, I've never seen a window like this before. It was interesting.
Let me talk to Tom tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Tim, I put the benchmarking on your agenda because part of the agenda because it's a resolution and it's. Did everybody get a copy of it? Just so the board has an understanding of where this started from, John Shaheen, who has been with the solar farm overlay district local law work, has really been pushing to do some other energy efficient things. And the Central New York Regional Planning and Development Board, I think that's their title, is facilitating and actually helping towns like ours to do a project that would allow us to measure and monitor our energy use if Tom was here, Tom Chartrand is doing this in some other towns, so he knows more about it actually than I do, but it would allow us to determine our energy use and then figure out ways to have it be both more efficient and more cost effective. So in order to work with both, with this, there needs to be a resolution passed that says that we are willing to do this benchmarking part of the project. And Tim, if I'm getting this wrong, am I saying it right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It sets forward a standard or a process to determine the energy efficiency of the buildings, benchmark them, and match it against some portfolio that the state has, I think, and see if you can, and then come up with ideas to reduce the energy use in the town for its town buildings, and it'll be done through the supervisor's office.
So
I don't have a copy of that benchmarking, but it's not a big deal. No, I'm looking through my emails right now and I see nothing. So I haven't read.
Oh.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. It might have.
It's okay. It's fine.
Okay.
I just don't have it.
Well,
so
I can send it to you right now, Sheila, if you'd like.
Yeah, just a quick glance. I don't see it.
I thought I sent it today, but maybe I did not. So
okay.
In one of those emails that I said, these won't take long to look at.
I did look at that, and there's things in, there's only 3 things in there, and those 3 things I printed off. I printed off.
But there was a second email with 3 more things.
Okay.
So that was probably in the second email, but I didn't have any text other than mention that it was the next 3 attachments. But really what this involves is some monitoring and reporting on the part of the town. I've already reached out to National Grid and given them authorization to release our accounts. We have 5 or 6 National Grid accounts. A significant amount we pay to National Grid every month between the street lighting and the schoolhouse, the town hall, the garage, the highway garage. It's a significant amount. So if we could take a look at this and then figure out how we can improve our energy efficiency and at the same time the cost, to me it's a win-win. But it does require some work, and Tom is aware, Chartrand, because he does it with the other towns, that it will probably involve him. So, but I would propose it. And if anybody has any questions feel free to ask me. I'm still asking questions myself of the regional board, but they're very, very invested in helping municipalities. So I'm not worried about being able to take this on. I think that it ultimately will benefit us. At least we'll know where we stand as far as what our baseline is, and then go from there.
My apologies. I did get this. I thought you were talking about it like a different document.
That's okay.
Sorry.
I have it.
This, so I'm
okay.
Yep.
Good. So does anyone have any questions? I would make a motion to pass this resolution that would set up standards for us to benchmark for our buildings here and our lighting.
Second.
Thanks, Ann. Second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Tim, do you have anything?
No, I have nothing else.
Okay. Thank you for doing it. I sort of, in the course of talking about the budget, discussed the first item on my supervisor's list. Let me back up for a minute. Does one of the town councilors have anything that they want? I know I gave you the opportunity prior to the meeting to add, but if anything's changed, everybody's good?
We're good.
Okay.
Good.
So
Good.
I sort of already discussed with about the different revenue sources that we're going to pursue looking into. The one I did mention was the sewer consolidation lease, which we did enter into with the county for they're taking over maintenance of our sewer lines, which is really the northern part of the town. Contained in that lease is a provision that allows either the county to pick up $200,000 worth of the debt that any town might have in their sewer districts. And Pompey doesn't have any debt in our sewer districts. So the alternative is that the county would have to make $200,000 available to us for green infrastructure projects that the county would spearhead. So we would submit proposals to them on what we would like to use the money for, and they will basically oversee the work, which I think probably Tom Purcell might be happy about, or somebody, or maybe Tom Chartrand, I don't know, but the bottom line is that we are working with the county right now. We are the first town to be interested in applying for this money. So I want to get in before anybody else does, given COVID, but it is another source of revenue we're pursuing. The second thing, so are you guys all good with that? I know we've talked about that before, so yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to point out, John Shaheen wanted to make a comment in regards to the benchmarking that you were previously discussing. He says it should be pointed out that the benchmarking is one of a number of things that the town can do to make us eligible for NYSERDA grants.
Yes, thank you. Tom, thanks. The next thing on my list are the town audits for 2019. We had previously done, and the board approved the supervisor's audit from 2019. Month or so, Ann Christmas and Tom Chartrand and I made it made a commitment to get the rest of them done, and the rest of the audits for the town included for 2019 included the tax collector audits and the clerk's office audits, and then the judge's audits. And we have two audits, Judge Cognetti and Judge Hammond. So those audits were all completed. You all had an opportunity, the board members, that is, to look at them today when you were signing vouchers. The judges, I kudos to them. Ann and I were really impressed with how organized they really were. It did not take us long at all to do their audits, and they were in very good, or they were very organized, put it that way. Anne, would you agree?
Yeah, and we use the state comptroller's checklist is how we audited.
Thank you. Same with, so I guess let me start with those two audits. I don't know, do we have to accept these through a motion, approve them? I know board members signed them.
I think in the past, we always put a motion in, you know, accepting the audit, or so there's a record that we did do the audit. I'm not sure if we had to, but we had in the past.
It never hurts.
Okay.
I'd make a motion for approval of and acceptance of the clerk, tax collector, and justice audits.
I second.
Okay. Any discussion? I would just like to point out one thing. With the clerk's audits, there are 2 audits for each, for the clerk and the tax collector. There are 2 audits because mid-year, the tax collector and the clerk changed when Anne resigned and retired, and a new interim clerk was, excuse me, appointed. So there are actually, just so it's clear, Anne did not work on the audits that were hers. Tom Chartrand and I did those audits of the first half of 2019. And then the second half of 2019 was by Anne and Tom and I. And through no fault, there's no fault here, but it was a very, very difficult process. I think there's a learning curve when you take on any new job, and oh my goodness. And so it took us quite a bit of time to go through that. And if anybody recalls at the beginning of this year, there was concern because there was significant money left, especially in the tax collector's account. And both the tax collector and the clerk's accounts are supposed to zero out at the end of the year. So we got, by going through with a fine tooth comb, the records, we were able to like figure out and get down to I think $60 or $68 or something versus zero in the, I'm going to get this wrong perhaps. Double check.
Made a notation on the last sheet, I believe, Renee.
Yes, I know. I'm trying to.
I thought it was 65.
Pardon me? Yeah, so in the tax collector, in the tax collector account, we were able to reconcile the account down to $69. And at the beginning of the year, we were like $50,000 of money sitting in that account. And we've been able to account for all but $69 of it. And Tom Chartrand believes that most of that is probably penalty type of money. The other budget, the other account, the clerk's account, we were able to, the first half of the year was fine. The second half, it did not reconcile again to zero, but it had a balance of, at the end of the year, $261.91 that we cannot account for. But this is the best we could do. We're very comfortable that is, as much as we had lots of concerns at the beginning of the year, we were able to figure most of it out. So I would, having said that, I know Carl's we've got a motion on the table. I just wanted to make sure that everybody was, that was understood. Does anybody else have anything to add before we vote?
I'm going to abstain though, because I'm part of that. So Nikki, when you do it, I just don't feel comfortable seeing how mine was half of the town clerks.
Okay. So with one abstention, the rest of the board, I'm going to ask all those in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried, 4 ayes and 1 abstention. Board members, I need advice. The Southern Cuyahoga trash system is I think for many of us, for many of you know that when Fair went out of business, we had to, oh good, Tom's back. We had, the town had to hurry up and put in place a new trash system. And that they bid it out, and there were 2 bids, and Dependable one was the lower bid. That contract actually, the 3rd year will be up next August of 2020. And there is, and I sit on that, I represent the town in that trash district when we meet, but I don't want to make a decision without the board's input. The Dependable contract allows for 1-year extensions. So it can be extended from August of 2021 into 2022, and then I think into September of 2022, and then again September of 2022 into 2023. The concern I have is twofold. First of all, we have to let them know as of January, and that's the whole trash district, not just Pompey. We have to let them know as of January 1 if we are going to extend. And I just want to know, having taken the pulse of the town when we were campaigning last fall, I know it was a sort of a hot topic. The trash system. Some people loved it. Some people were not a fan and did not like the way it was handled. Although having now been part of the group, and I think they did an admirable job coming up with what they did, because they were really backed into a corner when they had no trash service. So I'm just wondering what you all think about how we handle.
I think the 1-year renewal is a good idea. They've done an excellent job. There's been no complaints, and they're right here every time on time. Yes.
I think the only way you have to do the 1 year because it's so close. But if you want to investigate throughout the year what another option would be, that's a choice that can be made. But being the deadline's that close, what are the other options? We don't have any. So I'm happy with my trash service.
Well, we're only one part of this whole thing anyway. I mean, so if we were to oppose it, the other three could still vote for it. And
right.
But I don't know if we should oppose it, is my point. I think that people have settled into it. I still know that there are people that don't like it. I know that it's more I mean, I've heard private trash service is more expensive than what
right. They are
is offered. So I don't know, but what do the rest think? Carl, I've heard from you. I've heard from Sheila and Judy.
I'm going.
I think it's a good service. I
do too. I like it.
Okay. So I will take that back, that board consensus back to the sites, because we were supposed to let, I think it was Melanie, Tom?
Yes, you should let Melanie know.
Okay. And there was a recent issuance by the new fees, but it's not going to change our rate. It stays, our rate this year will stay the same at $3.
Oh, good.
So.
And in the agreement, Dependable has agreed to, with the new rates that we've put in place, they will be taking care of the recycling charge that the Okra has made a big deal about, because I saw there was a question on that, on your question and answer here.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, do you want me to read it? It's from Phil Dillmore. It says, we've heard that Okra is going to change or charge more for recycling. Do you have any information about the costs that we'll have to pay for recycling? So the short answer is that it's being taken care of in the contract. We addressed it so that the extra cost will be to Fair if it exceeds what was estimated by Okra.
Did you say Fair? You meant Dependable?
Or I'm sorry, Dependable. Yeah. Okay. I've been doing this too long.
Oh, you got too many budget hearings going on at the same time.
Yes, I do.
Okay, and the good news is that even though the rates have, I mean, everything is shifted with not having any place to recycle.
Right.
You know, the sources for recycling have dried up. So the county now has a cost where it used to fluctuate and not have a cost, or some years have it and some years not. But so the fact that Dependable's picking that up is helpful, and we're not going to have a rate increase, so that's good. I have put in everybody's mailboxes, and I've given board members the information on training on sexual harassment training that's mandatory. So that needs to be done by the end of the year. There's you can do it online. You just need to give me proof that you took it. Okay. Where's my? I had a resident reach out to me. I think this is probably a no-brainer, but I never know. Concern, or not, just wondering if, and her name is Lily Locke. She lives on one of the developments. She's Asian American. And she wondered if the town of Pompey would consider adopting a statement that, and I'm just reading from her email, reinforces the fact that xenophobic and racist behavior is not acceptable and is not tolerated in the town of Pompey. And that she would just like it to be a reminder that of support for, she specifically mentioned the Asian Americans living in Pompey, and I do know that there are not only there are Asian Americans living in Pompey, quite a few, but also other cultural groups, and would like to send a signal that behavior won't be tolerated by the town board. So I wondered if we could, on her behalf, adopt such a statement. I'm not looking to, I think that my, I will bring up anything that a town resident, within reason, I mean, I'm not going to do frivolous things, but I think that if a town resident has an issue, I'm going to bring it before the board. But I think kindness in our world is a struggle for some, and I think that if we, I just think it's a good reminder to people that if we all endorse this, I don't think it's unreasonable, and I think that rhetoric is easy to come by these days, and I, for one, will call it out when if I hear it. So I would be in support of that, of this statement, that we won't tolerate it, just be a zero tolerance kind of policy. So does anybody else want to weigh in on that?
I agree.
I agree.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Okay. Well, Lily, this is for you. I think this town will, I can promise you that we will work hard to ensure that there is zero tolerance for xenophobic, racist, discriminatory behavior and rhetoric. So that brings me to Heritage Hill and the email that we all got from the residents in the neighborhood. Seen it. I know, Carl, I think, did you have a chance to look at it, Carl?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So there have been over time, I'm just going to pull my file over here, concerns about the noise. And I think the increase in activity at Heritage Hill, but to the point where now some of the neighbors have decided to form a concerned citizens group and have brought their concerns by way of an email to all the board members to the town, asking us to intervene. This email came on Friday afternoon. I had a chance to look at it. I've heard from many people already on both sides of this issue. There are people that agree with the concerned neighbors. There are people that don't. And I guess I would say this, I've talked to Tim about this. We've reviewed our code. There is no provision in the code that would have any control over the music levels at Heritage Hill or at any place in the town. As for commercial activities, that would be something that if they're going on, there is site plan approval through the planning board. Bob Rodriguez, I and Sue Smith, who is the planning board chair, have agreed. And Tim, I would welcome either you or Jamie to be part of this. We're just going to review that that file, if you will. But I want to suffice it to say that we would like to come back to the board next month with some follow-up on this. And in talking to Tim, really a noise ordinance is not in the cards. There are other options on the table. We'll look at them, but I just want, because it's been an issue out there in the community, noise ordinance is not the answer here.
It's not the answer with farm equipment running all hours of the night, trying to harvest crops and everything. It just won't work.
Well, and I don't know how you impose.
I don't know how you read it or who runs around and the equipment. It's not going to happen.
No. So my hope is that we can get some clarity on the situation, and that we might be able to facilitate some sort of I don't know if I want to call it a discussion, maybe have a meeting. I see Veronica, there's probably some comments here.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm, do you want to hold any comments for the end for public comment?
Yes,
yes. Now,
because I really don't want to take comments on this because we're really not going to address it tonight. It's premature. We haven't really had a chance to look into it. All
right. There's a couple comments that I'll throw in at the end that came in.
Okay.
By
yeah,
Facebook.
that's fine.
And there's a gentleman who has a question on Zoom that we will just put in at the end.
Okay.
Okay, you just let me know.
It's fine. I don't have a problem with that, but I just want everybody to understand. I think this sort of there's been contact from neighbors during this year since I've been in office about noise, but it's also a business, and I've tried to explain to everyone that whatever we do, it will be a process, it will be fair, it will be open, people will have an opportunity to be heard. Then it really is ultimately when we come back, hopefully in December, and report back on what we've sort of been discussing and discovered. And Dan, if you're on, I would welcome at some point, your involvement too.
Yeah, so, he's on and he has his hand.
Oh, that's so shocking. But anyway, I want everyone to take a deep breath because it seems like this issue seems to be gathering speed very quickly. And I think that we want to have a rational discussion about this. The possibility that we hold a session where people can come and air their concerns and want and be heard and perhaps reach some sort of consensus. I don't know, but I'm open to, and I think this town is open to all questions. Certainly don't want to discourage business interests in the town. And at the same time, I will take town resident concerns seriously. So, but that's really what I want to say about it, because I do think it's premature to have a discussion about it at this level. I think we need to have an opportunity to look into it.
I agree.
Thank you, Carl. Does it feel differently, guys? Sheila or Ann or Judy?
I agree. It's noise ordinance would be not the best thing.
No.
Yeah, and I don't, and I got a call from one of the neighbors today, and they're not really saying they want it that. It's more they're concerned about the noise. So but suffice it to say, we're not looking to do it. I don't think that's the answer. And there are other options, and explore them all. So I just want everybody, as I said, take a deep breath. Myself included. So Veronica, if there's anything you want to add, I think we're pretty much at the end. Anybody have anything before we switch to what we consider now public comment? But everybody, we've been at this long enough. Yeah. Okay. Veronica, okay. Please.
I'm going to save the Heritage Hill for last. A couple of comments. One from Greg Hurley regarding the audits. Sorry, I just lost my place for a second here. Here we go. Speaking of audits, will the audit information that is in the possession of County Comptroller's Office ever be released to the residents and or provided to the state of New York for review?
What's he talking about?
That is a question. The audits that you completed.
Okay. I'm not answering that because I'm not really sure what he's talking about, but I can look into it. I'm not sure there are any.
And a couple of residents have said they're happy with the trash service. Helen Bailey and Ron Jaws. Okay, and so I guess the remaining comments are related to Heritage Hill. So I guess I'll start with the two people that have asked to have their hand to actually speak. So one is Phil Dillmore. So go ahead, Phil.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to say that a couple of years ago, when Mr. Palladino wanted to extend his hours, there was a town board hearing, and many of us expressed concerns over the noise and that it would run late into the night. And Mr. Palladino promised us that he would listen to us and work with us to keep the noise under control. He has not done that. He's basically sent out letters to the entire neighborhood saying we're just a bunch of whiners and nobody else is complaining about it. So, you know, at the time I spoke and I implored the town board at that time, the previous board, to come up with some ground rules so that we didn't get into the situation we're into now. And the board took no action. And so I understand you think it's ugly, and it's probably going to get uglier. But I think Mr. Palladino is kind of taking license to do whatever he wants. And, you know, what about the rest of those residents? You know, it's affecting our peace and quiet in our neighborhood and our property values. People that pay taxes in this town, don't we have rights as well as Mr. Palladino? Thank you all. Drop off.
Okay, thanks, Phil. Dan, I'm not sure if this is Dan Palladino or not, but if you could identify yourself, that would be good.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, this is Dan McClung.
Okay.
You know, thank you, everybody. I'll keep this kind of quick because, you know, as Renee mentioned, you know, we may have more conversation about this later. I just want to say, listen, I appreciate the town board listening to us on this. I'd like to start out to say I'm a little disappointed with how this has been playing out. You know, I've been told that some inflammatory posts have been made on social media about some neighbors wanting to change the town. Intents have been misconstrued. Mentions have been made of a noise ordinance, neighborhood associations, limiting freedom. You know, I'd like to say that this is not about a noise ordinance. This is about community and being good neighbors. You know, this is not about curtailing freedoms. This is about, you know, protecting people's rights to enjoy their properties. And it's certainly not about changing the town. You know, this is really about preserving the pastoral nature of our community here. As far as I'm aware, no one has, during this initial process of kind of, you know, a petition being circulated around, nobody's really mentioned a noise ordinance other than Dan Palladino. The request has simply been made that the loud music that's regularly being played be contained to the property of Heritage Hill, so the rest of us can enjoy the town in peace. I happen to have the, I pulled up the August 2018 Planning Board meeting minutes. And, you know, the board pointed out that the brewery application made no mention of music every weekend or music being played in outdoor structures. You know, Dan Palladino replied that the music was, and I quote on this here, hold on, single acoustic with one singer, no tickets. And, you know, the town attorney kind of assured us all that any issues can be informed. And once again, that's in the town meeting, that's in the planning board meeting minutes. So we kind of moved on. Well, there have been issues. You know, a lot of people have been raising concerns, and the situation just seems to be getting worse. So we're just asking the town, you know, can we work together to help address this? You know, personally, I think it would be best for all parties involved if we could just resolve this amicably. Unfortunately, to date, you know, our complaints really haven't been addressed. So, you know, that's kind of where I stand. I can't speak for everybody, but, you know, so thank you for taking the time to listen to us, and you know, hopefully we can come to some sort of an agreement here that works for everybody. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Veronica, before we go on, can I just say one thing? I feel like, out of fairness,
yeah,
Dan, and this is in response to Dan. Dan, I have used the term noise ordinance, so don't blame on Dan Palladino, because when I read the email from you and you're asking the town to regulate noise, that is pretty much asking us for a noise ordinance. So I use that term, and I don't want it to be made sound like it's Dan that I know. So I just want to clarify that. Full disclosure.
Okay. Dan Palladino is on and is asking to talk. So, are you there, Dan?
Needs to unmute.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So thanks, everyone. Yeah, I did make a post yesterday on Facebook because I thought that this would be actually what was just happening with the two gentlemen that just spoke, because there's a lot of facts on there that aren't accurate. The town meeting minutes that were mentioned when this was originally proposed, when I originally put my plan in place, we were talking about the cafe, the farm store, and all that was referenced in there, and I'll go dig that up. But even more so, Mr. McClurg, who just spoke, you know, he was initially calling me, and I told him, Dan, just come up, even if I'm not here, just ask the band if the wind's blowing and you're hearing it over at your house, ask the musician to turn it down. You know, I'm always here. Then I sent out the letters, and my letters were not whining letters. Renee, I know you received one. It was about what we've done this year, what we've gone through. A business during COVID has to throw their plan out the window just to survive. To keep 30 employees going. Yeah, I did drive-in sunsets and I had music playing. It's the only way I could survive. Try to do everything for the community. We closed all year long at 9 o'clock. 2 events we had that went to 10. The one just beyond was a drive-in concert to support heroin use in Syracuse. It's the only thing I've done. We've closed at 9 just till sunset, and that's it. I have a business that I could be open until 2 a.m. I love my neighbors. Everything I do is about the neighbors. Everything I do is about the community. Mr. McClurg, at the end of the day, turning down the music wasn't enough, and this was in the afternoon. He just didn't want to have music, period. And I'm sorry, I do have a right to have music because I am an active farm. This is agritourism. It's considered agriculture by the state of New York. Some people disagree that a brewery shouldn't be agriculture and agritourism shouldn't be agriculture, but the state of New York defines it that way. And I'm protected under that. But it doesn't change the fact that I have no interest in being open till 2. I have no interest in having concerts. I want my neighbors to be customers. I want them to be a part of the farm show. I want to be a part of the community. So, you know, I will get passionate and emotional when I feel that our family's whole history and lifetime here and all that we're doing is attacked. And unfortunately by people that weren't here before any of this. And you know, what I would say, you know, I will always be here to listen. One neighbor, when he got my letter, he called me, we talked for 45 minutes. He said, thank you for taking the time. Dan called me up and said, I'm confused by your letter. It says here, I can call you anytime. Yes, I just answered the phone. But, you know, at the end of the day, I try to make it as non-impactful as possible, as family-friendly as possible. And I do listen, but, you know, I will have music. I will keep it reasonable. I have no interest in having concerts. Everything I do is agriculture and family-based, and that's it. So where we go from here, I'm happy to go through town planning and stuff like that, but that was thrown out the window when the governor shut down indoor dining this year, and we had to do whatever we had to do to survive. I'm sorry.
Okay, I think, I think that's it on Zoom. Just a couple of little ones on Facebook. Just about that the music is outside because of COVID-19 from Helen Bailey. And James Loomis says, we just asked about how to get businesses to help with the tax base. So we can't then make it harder for any businesses. Plus with COVID, they had to move more outside. And that's pretty much it, I think.
Thank you, Veronica, for all your help. And I appreciate all the input. I know the board does. We're listening. We're listening. That's what we're supposed to do at this point. As I said, I will be meeting with some town officials here. We'll be looking at our options, and we will be reporting back to the board next month. If there is any board member, and I can only take one, that would like to participate in this as well, just let me know. You don't have to decide now. I think that it's sort of a hot button issue, and we're going to try and help resolve it. So that said, anything else? I make a motion to adjourn.
A second it.
Just one more comment, Renee came in.
Yeah,
how many board members work for or are personal friends with Mr. Palladino?
What?
That's the question.
Is there a name with that question?
Phil Dillmore.
Oh.
I don't work for him.
I don't work for him.
I don't work for him.
I don't work for him. I'm not a personal friend of you.
I don't work for him. I live in close proximity to Heritage Hill, and I have been a customer there. If that, and I have had conversations with Mr. Palladino about his business. Now, I don't think he would consider me his friend, an acquaintance, let's put it that way. But that's about as far as I would go.
Well, in the end, you represent the people of the town of Pompey.
Yes.
And the more people you know, the better representation you can have.
Yes, and
provide.
Thank you. And I think for those of you who have already experienced me in any dealings you've had with the town, I'm all about sharing information because I think it's powerful. Holding back information does nobody any good. So if an issue comes up, I'm going to go to the source and I'm going to have a discussion, or I'm going to talk to people. So, and both Dan Palladino and Dan McClung both know that. So I am available to anybody that wants to give me a call or wants to email me or whatever. But I really feel strongly about sharing information, and hoping it's the way to solve solutions, really. So enough said. I babble on, and we've had a long meeting, and I so appreciate all of you on this.
Renee, there was one question about the date and time of the next board meeting that I'm not sure if you addressed.
Oh, I answered that. I mean,
okay.
Oh, you did it yourself?
Yeah, it came in by Zoom. It's December 7th. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. The first Monday. Yep.
Yep.
And we are trying to get the county and the sponsor of Farm Days to hold an informational session along with the farmland preservation people and the Palladinos, so that we can be better informed. Again, information is powerful. So if you understand what's going on, it clarifies things. So that's in the works. We're just trying to figure out how we find a place to do it. Oh, I almost forgot. I am so sorry. There's one other item. The solar. How did I not have that? Did I skip that on my agenda, or did I not have it on me?
It's on there.
There's a solar project. I went right past it. There's a solar project that has come to our attention that is for a solar farm on State Road, my neighborhood. And I sent the board the site plan that was presented to me. And I don't know how you all feel now about what we should do about a public hearing, because we did get, we were presented with the solar farm overlay local law, and kept how we would do this. And some board members feel very strongly that we should do a public hearing. And I've been trying to figure out where can we do a public hearing, but there hadn't seemed to be an urgency. But now I feel like we maybe need to do a public hearing sooner rather than later. I don't know what the rest of you think, since there's a project that is a possibility.
Can we use the firehouse, or can we use a area? I don't know.
What someone just mentioned to me. That's why, and I didn't want to bring it up until I saw what your feeling was about this. What about the Rod and Gun Club?
Sure.
That's a larger venue than the firehouse.
Okay.
I mean, I had not even thought about it, but it's a possibility that we could use that space. That's a bigger space, and we could, but that might, if we could use that space, we might be able to hold a public hearing there in person, and try and do a hybrid. Veronica, I know that probably panics you, but
nothing.
I was going to suggest the firehouse too, Sheila, but I think the Rod and Gun Club is a good idea.
Good.
Yeah.
As long as they have Wi-Fi.
Oh. I don't know. Well, if you, my first question for everyone, and I don't want to belabor this, do we want to try and do the public hearing now, public hearing on this sooner?
Yes.
We should schedule. So
we might as well. We've been postponing it due to COVID, so
Because
schedule it
it's-
and then.
Right. So if is everybody sort of, I sort of feel the same way as Sheila. I think that if we've got a project, we should get, I think it's premature to bring the project before anybody because we don't have the law in place yet.
Right.
But we should
Right.
probably get moving on that. And so I will look into venues, see what I can come up with.
Call Wayne Wilcox.
What'd you say?
Wayne Wilcox.
Okay.
I'll send you his number.
Okay, do that. Thank you, Sheila.
Yep.
All right. I go back to making a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Third.
Third.
Sorry.
All of us.
Oh, okay. I thank all of you very much.
Thank you.
Favor?
Aye.
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 Tom Chartrand, you're a trooper. Tim, I give you credit for hanging in with us, and Bob, and all of you. So thank you so much.
All right, have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Night, everybody.
Tim, I'll call you during the week.